Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Fiona. Thanks very much, Simone, for sorting this. Few housekeeping things like we always have to do. This session will be filmed. So the link for the webinar will be sent to all the participants of this call and also the transcript of it. So you'll be able to have a look at it and review it at your leisure. Please note that if you want to ask James any questions for you to put it in the chat function. James is very happy to have questions. There you are, he's nodding. He's very happy to have questions on his job, his role, the volunteering sector, ASOS, the company ASOS, the fashion online company. So yeah, please feel free. There's no questions that are wrong. Anyway, so I think that's all the questions. If time doesn't permit, because we've got so many questions, then please email your questions to careers@glasgow.ac.uk and we'll forward them on to James. So lots of opportunities to satisfy your curiosity. So the Big Brave, you may have come to some of the Big Brave series before. We have it as part of our closing event for all our careers fairs. And it's an opportunity for you to hear a career story from an ambitious and accomplished person who's achieved success. And we hope that it will be relevant to you today and you will learn lots of it. So a brief biography of James. So I'm just reading it here. James is the Senior Corporate Responsibility Manager for the ASOS Foundation, a charity which aims to support young people break down barriers to achieve their potential. ASOS's corporate responsibility strategy, Fashion with Integrity, drives its transparent, responsible, inclusive approach to business. And it is how it enables ASOS to work with others to transform the impact of fashion on people, animals, and the environment. Before taking this role at ASOS, James was responsible for creating, developing, and implementing the corporate social responsibility strategy for partners of the Giving Department. He's also worked with Morgan Stanley as their community affairs manager and managed volunteers for the East London Business Alliance. James gained a BSc in social sciences from the University of Bath and more recently completed an online short course in business sustainability management from the University of Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. Very impressed, James. Very, very impressed. Now, just a bit of a starter. James and I know each other because I'm on the board of the ASOS Foundation. So that's how we know each other. But the first question I want you to ask you today, James, is we're at a university. And so it would be really helpful for us to know what made you choose your social sciences degree at the University of Bath? So maybe two questions. Why that degree and why Bath?
Fantastic. Thanks, Fiona, and hi, everyone. Great to be here. And yeah, as Fiona mentioned, please, any questions, no such thing as a stupid question. Please ask away. So yeah, why social sciences first? I'll take that one. I guess I was relatively indecisive at that age. I still am a little bit. So I guess, you know, that particular course appealed to me because it enabled me to study various different subjects within the humanities. So you know, whilst on the course, you can look at social policy, psychology, criminology, politics, lots of different disciplines that all interrelate. And given I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with my career, you know, I didn't. Some people are sure at that point they want to be doctors or accountants or whatever it might be. I wasn't one of those people. So I felt like it was a course that played to my interests and would keep my options open in the future. So that was really why I chose social sciences. Bath was actually my second choice. My first choice was Edinburgh, funnily enough. So I could have been up in Scotland, like you are now. But no, loved Bath as well. Thought it was fantastic. City, a chance to move away from home, and yeah, sort of explore a different part of the UK. So I kind of, after visiting fell in love with the place. So yeah, made a lot of
Thank you.
sense.
That's great. So basically, the degree was something that interested you, but was broad enough for you to kind of sort of springboard onto other careers.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I sort of, as I said, really wasn't sure where I was going to end up, and just felt that if I was going to study something else for another 3 or 4 years, it had to be something that interested me, and humanities had always interested me. So yeah, I
That's
mean, for
great.
me, yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So how did you, so your first job, was your first job? How did it, did you choose it or did it choose you?
Good question. So yeah, my first proper job, I'd say, was with the East London Business Alliance, who are a membership organisation and registered charity, and their role is to broker relationships between the business world and the charity sector in East London,
Okay.
predominantly across some of the most deprived and poor boroughs in the east of London. And the idea there is really to bring the time, the resources, the expertise of companies in the City of London, in Canary Wharf, to those charitable organisations to help make them more sustainable, to help them grow, and to help them serve their beneficiaries and their communities. And yeah, really interesting one. I ended up changing my degree course slightly. I'd originally signed up for a 3-year course. Quite quickly realised a career path wasn't becoming clear, and I wasn't sure, where this was going to take me. So decided to transfer onto a 4-year social sciences course, still the same subject, but it enabled me to take a placement year in industry. And I was lucky enough that the university gave me quite a lot of freedom there to find something that interested me. And I was fascinated by the charity sector. I'd done a bit of work experience actually in the theatre before that, and in financial services before that. Both of those interested me. I was interested in sport as well, but yeah, I was just very keen to learn more about whether there was a career for me in the third sector and in the charity sector. So I felt like that year was a kind of free shot for me to have a see if it was something that I was going to take to and I was going to like.
Yeah.
So I ended up writing lots of speculative letters to lots of causes, and charities that sort of aligned with my passions, to some sporting organisations, as a youth homelessness charity as well, and explained my situation and sort of said that, this is me, these are my skills, I'm at this point in my development, and I've got this opportunity to spend 30 weeks with an organisation, and I'd be very interested to see what I could offer with you, and discuss whether there might be an opportunity to develop some sort of placement. So I was doing that when I was back in London meeting with a few people, and I bumped into my old headmaster from my secondary school, and he asked me what I was up to, and what I was doing back home, and how university was going. And I explained to him that was what I was doing. I was looking for a placement for my following year in the charity sector, and it was through that conversation he introduced me to some trustees of a couple of different charities, one of which was the East London Business Alliance. So that sort of chance meeting on the street, and that relationship that I had with someone at my school, opened a door and a conversation with ELBA, the East London Business Alliance. And it was a voluntary role, it was unpaid, and it was something that was kind of put together for me. Obviously it met the needs of the organisation at the time, and felt like it suited my level and my stage of development. But that is when I first sort of learned about corporate social responsibility and the role in which business plays in society beyond just making money, and how they interact with communities and with charities. And
so
that was.
Oh, sorry, go on, James. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that was my window in, and before that I hadn't really had so much of an appreciation of it. So to sort of finally answer your question, it kind of chose me in a way.
It chose you. No, yes. Or maybe it was serendipitous. I don't know. But
Yeah.
how many? Can you remember? I mean, it's some time ago. how many speculative letters, because we do masterclasses just as a bit of a promo from the Career Centre on speculative approaches, and that's writing an approach to a company when there isn't a job obviously available or advertised. I mean, did you write lots at the time?
I didn't write tons,
Yeah.
I have to say, but I think part of that was because a lot of the people that I wrote to were through what I might call warm leads, warm connections. So not people I knew directly, but people I knew through other people. So people that were able to introduce me. And I was quite fortunate in that way. And I think when you do that, you're much more likely to get a response. And I think
it can be more targeted, can't it?
It's way more targeted. Like if you're writing a speculative approach, how do you know it's going to get in the hands of somebody who can make that decision? And that's so tricky, is getting that letter to land on the right desk, or that email, what have you. So that was the approach that I took, and I would encourage that. It's not always possible, and I think if it's not a warm lead, then you're going to have to up the number, because and I guess the other thing that really played in my favor was I was essentially offering my services for free. Perhaps I was underselling myself. I was lucky to get a very small grant from the university to cover some living expenses. The Elba job paid me £50 a week to cover my train fare and my sandwiches, but that was that, and I was lucky enough to live at home at the time, so quite a fortunate position there. But when you are offering your time for free, then you're more likely to get an uptake on, or at least a conversation with somebody.
Can I just ask, because it's always this debate, isn't it, about students doing work in essence for free, and for some people it's not possible. For you it clearly was, and you took that role presumably so you could get the experience to put on your CV.
I know it is hotly debated, and quite a contentious issue, and I do recognise that, and I recognise how fortunate I was to be able to access some money from the university that I didn't have to pay back. That was a grant. It wasn't lots, but it was something. And to obviously live in London, have parents that were able to support me, that's not possible what I ended up doing, I had to do 30 weeks to satisfy my degree course, and at the end of that 30 weeks I had a bit more time before I went back to university, so I was looking to get paid employment at that time. Luckily the charity were like, we like you, we'd love you to stay on for another few months, we'll pay you. And that kind of sort of backfilled my debts a little bit.
And that's the risk you take, isn't it? I mean, working for free or volunteering, you're hoping that it will be the longest interview and that you can prove your worth. So that's, in essence, maybe the risk you take, but it clearly paid off for you, James, and I'm really glad it did.
It massively paid off, but I know it's not an option for everyone, and I think you just have to balance it yourself. What's worth it for you, and if you really can't do that, then don't do it. You should hold out for something. It's a choice. You should hold out for something that does pay, or look for shorter stints. Obviously I was doing it as part of my degree, and I had to get 30 weeks of work experience. Otherwise I wouldn't have passed that year. If you're not doing that type of course and you're looking for experience, and you've got the summers or whatever holidays that you have, could you do a week? Could you do 2 weeks somewhere that's not that won't be quite so financially burdensome, but still give you really, really valuable insight into a career or industry that you're currently interested in?
Great, thank you. Top tip there, everybody. Right, moving on to present day. I mean, you've had an illustrious career and a varied career already, James. Can you tell us what your job is at ASOS? So we've got this title, Senior Corporate Social Responsibility. I'm sure people on here may have some sense of what the role is, but can you tell us what that role is? Just tell us the story. What do you do on a day basis?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll try and explain CSR, corporate social responsibility. It's been called a number of different things, and it seems to continually evolve and change. Some people call it responsible business. Some people might call it corporate citizenship, corporate social responsibility, CR, all these different names. Essentially, it's the same thing. It really is about managing the impact of that business on the wider society and the community in which it lives and operates. So, originally it was all about mitigating any sort of negativity that might come about through any business's operations, and it's something that sort of evolved over time and grown, and now you see a lot. Businesses change. You would have seen sort of the rise of this B Corp status, where businesses have to satisfy certain social criteria to get that stamp of approval, and it's really is sort of changing how many businesses are operating. But essentially, it is exactly that. It's managing all the different relationships that the business has with its local communities. So specifically at ASOS, my role is very much focused around ASOS Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the business. It's a completely separate entity, registered with the UK Charity Commission. And every year we raise money through events, and we receive a donation from the business as well, in which to do good things with around the communities where ASOS has a business presence. So
what kind of events are those that the foundation runs?
So the foundation runs quite large scale fundraising events, which isn't always the norm for these types of roles, but it's very exciting, and I think ASOS is in a very interesting position to be able to do that. So we have a big gala dinner every year. Unfortunately, not been able to do that lately, as you can imagine, but a big gala dinner where we invite lots of the brands that ASOS works with, that we sell on site, ask them to take tables, provide entertainment, and run a charity fundraising night effectively for those clients, and that raises quite a lot of money for the young people that we ultimately support through the charities that we partner with. But as well as that, there's an external side of the events, but there's also the internal piece as well. So yeah, a big part of CSR is about how you engage your employee base. How do you get your workers involved in the good stuff that you're doing? Because it's obviously a really positive thing for a business to do, and for an employee to get involved with. It can often, there's lots of studies out there that show how it can improve how proud it makes people feel to work for that business if they feel that company is socially responsible. So it can improve retention rates and that kind of thing, which has an impact on the bottom line of a business. So yeah, it's all that kind of engagement and helping people feel a belonging to something bigger, and a culture that does the right thing and gives back and cares. So a large part of the events that we run will more so be pitched towards our employees and get them involved in the fundraising.
It's a company-wide push, isn't it? I mean, we mentioned about the events in which you raise money, but can you just outline briefly some of the projects that you give back to? And I know there's a big strategic change at the moment, James, and you're looking for redirection. But can you just name a few projects so that the students have got an idea what the foundation does and the impact it makes? Sure
thing. So yeah, at the moment, the focus really is very much about young people and about helping them to break down barriers to help achieve their potential. The business has always been about giving people the confidence to be who they want to be through fashion, and the foundation sort of has an extension of that mission. So through our charitable projects, we hope to help young people who for whatever reason, have barriers in their life that are stopping them from achieving their full potential. So that's really what we go after at the moment. And in the UK, that means that we work with the Prince's Trust, which we have done for over 10 years now, which is a fantastic achievement in itself. And we run courses with Prince's Trust young people, directly focused on helping them gain the skills, both soft skills and technical skills, to get into different sectors. So this year, for example, we're running get into customer service courses. So we have volunteers that are running those that week-long workshop for young people to introduce them to that life, that career, and help impart some of the knowledge and skills that would hopefully get those young people to the next level. So big focus on customer care, as you might imagine from a company like ASOS. The next big focus on courses through the trust is with tech as well. Again, people think of us as a fashion business, but actually we're a tech fashion business, being solely online. So yeah, we're running a web design course, or a couple of web design courses this year. And yeah, follows that same sort of pattern. So it's all about upskilling young people who have been unemployed for a period of time and are struggling to get into employment. So it's those steps to get people back into work again.
Right.
So that's with the trust. Quickly with Centrepoint.
Can you explain what Centrepoint is? It's not so well known up here.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think it works in Scotland actually. So yeah, Centrepoint is a youth homelessness charity here in England, and I think people often misinterpret youth homelessness. It's not just young people on the streets, although that they will support young people who are unfortunately on the streets. It's people that are at risk of not having a roof over their head. So people who might be sofa surfing, whether there's a breakdown in the family, and they have to, or a relationship that's broken down, and they have to then go stay at a friend's house on a sofa and don't have a permanent place of their own. Might be to do with young people leaving the care system, things like that. And our work is really about supporting those young people, and we've got a particular focus on the helpline that they run. And also in projects in Barnsley. We have a big business operation in Barnsley. It's where one of our big fulfillment centres is. So we do a lot of work with young people in Barnsley, particularly around mental health. And as
a South Yorkshire gal, I'm very happy to hear that. Barnsley's in South Yorkshire, for those people that their geography is not so good.
Yeah, so we're very proud of that.
So there you've got UK projects, and you've got projects also in sort of abroad, say to see.
That's it.
Give us that old school. Can you give us sort of two of those projects or two examples of those?
Sure. So yeah, we also have international work. We're obviously an international business. We sell in over 100 countries, 150 countries odd. So and our footprint is global as well. So yeah, we have projects out in India at the moment. So we support a charity called Udayan Care, which is a series of homes that support young people without families. And we've helped actually in the construction of those homes, so enabled the charity to stop paying money on rent and give them an actual asset, which will make them more sustainable in the long term. And currently our funding is helping with the ongoing costs of running those homes and supporting those young people with their education. They're all at various different stages. Some need to be upskilled before they're able to get back into traditional education, because they might have been not receiving formal education for a number of years. So there's they have a lot of catching up to do, and that's what the home is there to help achieve. And then on the other, in Africa, we have a project out in Kenya, which is more linked to the fashion industry and is around a sustainable textiles factory, and that they actually make a range which we sell on ASOS. So you may have heard of it. It's called the Made in Kenya range, which is obviously made in that factory, and we support the social outreach of that business. It's a social enterprise, and they do work in the community around various health initiatives, water, sanitation and hygiene issues, so installing toilets in schools. You know, there's a huge issue where young girls miss a lot of school through their periods. They don't have they don't have any of the hygiene products. They don't have, if there's no toilet in the school, then there's no sort of safe place. So they end up missing lots of school, and that's a common problem, and it's something which we're looking to address through their community outreach and educate the whole community on those issues, and hope sort of break that taboo, and hopefully make sure that those young people, and those young girls in particular, go on to receive a full education, and get an education to move on to bigger and better things.
I mean, I know the ASOS has done so much great work, and you know, it will be going into different directions. Thanks very much for that, James. Now, just briefly want to ask you a question before we go on to the students, because there's some questions coming in. Where did you find your job at ASOS? How did you apply? And since you've not previously worked in the fashion online world, what do you think made you successful? So loads of questions to that, but the first one was, where did you find the job? Because students are always job searching, want to know what sources of information that they can look at. How did you apply? Was it online, CV? How did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I found the ASOS job through LinkedIn, which hopefully you're all familiar with. So it's a social networking site for professionals. Good stuff. Do set up a profile if you haven't got one already. It's definitely worth doing, even if you think, oh, I don't know anybody yet. But you got to get. It's just a great source of information, not just job opportunities, but you get to see what businesses are doing and what other careers are out there as well. You know, see hundreds of people, what their role is and what they're talking about, what issues are pertinent to that particular that job, that sector, that company, whatever. You can follow different businesses and see what's going on. You know, if you're interested in charities, there's charities that you can follow as well, or sustainability and corporate social responsibility. There's groups where you can network, which I'd highly recommend that you do.
Right.
It's a really good starting point. So yeah, the ASOS role was
you getting the job. I mean, so you applied on LinkedIn. Sorry to interject.
No, it's fine.
You know, we could pay you here to say everything that we're trying to say all the time. But yeah, get a LinkedIn profile, come to our masterclasses. So you found the job on LinkedIn. Did you apply via LinkedIn or apply directly via ASOS's site? Doesn't really matter, to be honest, because it all lands in the same place, doesn't it?
Good question. I think that particular role, it sort of fed you back through to ASOS. So and there's some debate about that, whether you should apply direct or through LinkedIn. I'm not sure I've got the answer to that one, but
I don't think it really necessarily matters, and don't be afraid of the number of applicants you often see, because it can scare you. Can I just ask, what do you think? So you previously to ASOS, I want to say you worked for Morgan Stanley, and then you worked for the Alliance in East London. What do you think was the clincher, or have you ever been told by anybody that got you a job in a completely different sector, in a quite a sought after role?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, and probably one to ask my new employers. But I guess from my perspective, I had a long stint at Morgan Stanley at the bank, running programs very similar to the things that we do at ASOS. So they had their own charitable foundation as well. So I had that very relevant experience. But my next role was at a consultancy. So it was a big contrast. So I went from a multinational 60,000 people business into a consultancy of 4, which was a bit of a leap of faith and a big jump and a bit of a culture shock. But I just felt I needed to change. It was 10 years. I loved my job, but yeah, I needed to move on to progress, and I realised that. And it is a competitive industry and competitive career, because it's desirable. Lots of people want to get into it, and there aren't that many jobs because there's only a few people per company, per department in these types of roles. So made that step. And the consultancy, I think, was probably the clincher, because what that enabled me to do was test myself in across a number of different businesses and sectors. So I worked with publishing company. I worked with Big Yellow Storage. I did stuff with Vodafone. I did stuff with other investment houses, ones you might not have heard of, but financial services organizations like Quilter Wealth Management, and Columbia Threadneedle. So it was still quite focused on professional services and financial services, but I had a little smattering of retail and consumer-based business as well. And I think that gave me a bit more of a opportunity to sort of pivot into fashion. And it wasn't necessarily that I was thinking, I want to go into fashion. I was looking in the CSR space, and when that job came up, I just thought, well, this could be really exciting. It'd be a new challenge for me. Not having a fashion background, I thought may play against me, but luckily for me, it didn't, and they saw that I had transferable skills that I could bring across.
That's it. It's those transferable skills, and it's you don't necessarily need to have a background, as long as you're knowledgeable, you know what you're applying for. It's that transferability, and I think that's key, and that's what we at the Career Service are always trying to sort of give those messages. Right, James, thanks for that. We could talk all day, but I'm very mindful of the questions that are coming in from students. I've got a question here from someone. It's from Simon, but there's a question. I hope I'm going to say this is: how do you ensure that the role of the corporate responsibility manager is reflected in the way that a business is run overall, top to bottom, and not just an additional aspect of the company? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense, and it is a fantastic question, a really, really good question. And it's a tough one, and it's something that I think a lot of people in this profession will struggle with and will grapple with. There's social responsibility roles in organizations that perhaps don't necessarily have a particularly good name, whether it be a gambling firm, for example, or an alcohol drinks company, or things like industries that you might associate with social harm. And I've worked for a bank. Tobacco, yeah. I mean, I worked for a bank, an investment bank for 10 years just after the financial crisis. So, that wasn't a particularly popular place to be, or industry to be associated with. And even here within fashion, there's a lot of criticism of the industry about how it behaves. The negative connotations of fast fashion. And it is up to it's up to everybody, but I think the CSR department and teams should constantly be pushing and pushing and pushing for the business to do better. Ultimately, you can't do anything. You can't change the way a business runs. We can't change its whole philosophy overnight. I think I don't know, for those that are really mad about fashion and sustainability, you might have heard of companies like Patagonia, for example, who are major players in fashion and sustainability in particular, and have great sustainable credentials. I think they even put an advert out to tell consumers not to buy this particular jacket that they had on sale, because they don't want to promote over consumption, because that's bad for the planet. That's on totally another end of the spectrum, and I don't think ASOS is going to suddenly turn around and become Patagonia overnight. But it's definitely my role, and people in the team's role, to yeah, be that annoying person that constantly tells the CEO and senior management, hang on, you know, we should be doing better, we can do better, and this is how we do it, and this is why it makes sense, not just because it's the right thing to do, but it's the right thing for business. So you have to build that business case to show that doing things in a sustainable, responsible way will be better for the bottom line in some shape or form, whether it's through improved reputation, improved brand awareness, all that kind of stuff, or whether it's through making savings on production or what have you, by reusing and recycling waste products that are generated through the production of your product. So yeah, that's the challenge. Not always easy, but that really is the crux of it, and that, you know, people that are interested in that jump into these roles and don't get disheartened when you get knockbacks and things don't move quite as quickly as you want them to.
It's interesting because there's a few questions about this whole fast fashion bit, and Grace here, one of the students, says, how do you feel personally about someone that cares about the planet? That's what your role is, but you're working in an industry that can be a large polluter.
Yeah.
I mean, you did mention it, you know, but do you have times when you're pulling your hair out, or is it balanced with a lot of good times?
Yeah, it's again, fantastic question, and I don't think we should shy away from them. Like, yeah, I think you choose, you know, you want to sort of carefully choose who you work for, because it can ultimately end up forming quite a big part of your identity and quite a big part of your life, and the time that you spend is with your colleagues and with that company. So it's important to choose wisely and try and ensure that who you're working for aligns with the values that you have. And yeah, are we the most sustainable fashion business in the world? No, we're not. But can we do better? Yes, absolutely. And that's what I want to do. I want to drive change from within. There's not much I can do about ASOS's global footprint outside of the business. Very limited things I can do other than not purchase from them. And yeah, I feel like this is where I can make some really positive, some really good changes. Like if you go somewhere where they've got it all buttoned down and they're squeaky clean and perfect, then that's easy, isn't it? You know, it's already done. So this is a challenge. I do feel proud to work for ASOS. I think that the whole industry is sort of tarred with the same brush, and that's not necessarily fair. And actually, same sort of thing as with, you know, the banks back in 2008, 2009, you know, weren't able or too shy to sort of talk about the good stuff that they did, because they've feared the negative blowback and criticism that they might get should they sort of take a stand and say, hang on, we're doing this great stuff, because they're really worried about that. And I think the same sort of things happening here in fashion, and we're actually doing so much stuff that we don't communicate to the consumer at all. And I think it's something we really need to do a better job of. And if you are on LinkedIn and you do or you do set up a profile, please do follow us if you're interested in fashion and sustainability, because actually all of our messaging on these issues predominantly goes through LinkedIn, a little bit on Twitter, but mainly LinkedIn. And it's not, unfortunately, we're not winning the fight to get this on Instagram and to our 10 million followers, but we're working on that. That's an internal battle. But on LinkedIn, we're constantly talking about all the great stuff that I don't think Joe Blogs on the street necessarily knows about, whether it's about the zero emission deliveries that we're doing, whether it's we're trialing reusable packaging that you can return back to us and we'll constantly recycle, so there isn't that constant stream of plastic, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, that's a long answer, but hopefully that covers it.
No, I think that was great. I think there are quite a lot of questions on that basis. Grace wants to know, did you do any curricular activities whilst you were at university that you felt make a difference, or that felt that made you stand out, or any thoughts on that whole question?
Probably not, to be honest with you. That might not be the right answer that everybody wants to hear, but not to say that I didn't get involved. I love my sport. I joined the American football team. I'd never played that before. Really enjoyed that. The sociology football team, things like that. A couple of different like music societies and things like that. But generally speaking, like did that progress my career? No, it didn't. Did it help me settle in at university? Yes, it did. So yeah, I think
I'll help you with this. So we do say to students on their CV to put things like their interests or extracurricular activities in the absence of having lots of work experience. And I just think at many of the students or people in the audience at their age and stage, are you mindful of those sort of things on a CV?
I think I'd always tell anyone starting out, who hasn't necessarily got much in the way of work experience, you do have to build your CV. You definitely do. And there are lots of different ways to do that, whether it's signing up for trying to find your own sort of work experience, whether it's that 1 week in across Easter or a couple of weeks in the summer, doing something off your own back, just something. I mean, don't waste your summers and your time off. I know you do need a break, and that's well deserved, but use the time that you have and think, okay, well, what can I do in this summer holiday or when I have some time? What can I do that's going to make me more employable, going to build my CV, but also going to further my thinking around where I want to go, and that's something that I didn't do a lot of myself, and I wish I had done.
Okay.
But just I mean, whether it's there's tons of online courses there these days. Online work experience, whatever it is, there's opportunities out there if you search for them. And even if they're like 1 day intros into, and I know you can't attend physical events anymore, but there's tons of interesting people that are doing talks through various groups and forums. Again, keep going back to LinkedIn or Meetup. There are places that you can go to learn about sustainability, to learn about CSR, if that's your interest. Obviously, you're here maybe because you are interested in that. If you've got other interests, great. Follow those up as well. Try and listen to industry leaders talk about their career and and that's something to put on your CV to show that you want to get into that field and you've done all these things to widen off your own back, to widen your knowledge and experience of that sector and that industry. So
that's great. Thanks for those tips. I want to come back to the whole speculative approach. And when I'm talking about speculative approaches, I'm always saying to the students, find out what that company wants or that sector wants, and then you match your skill offer to their skill need, the supply and demand equation. I just think, I wondered what, in your knowledge, the challenges are of the voluntary sector, and how in terms of skills or roles, how our students might offer themselves on a temporary basis. Is that question an okay question for you?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think with the voluntary sector, it's chronically under-resourced. So you're going to be pushing on a bit of an open door to a large degree. Charities want people that can commit on a regular basis, and that doesn't necessarily mean 5 days a week for 6 months. It could mean 2 or 3 hours a week for over the period of a few months to work on a specific project, and you just don't know until you ask. It's not often that some of these things they're not advertised because it might be a project that's just in somebody's head at the moment, and offering your time and expertise to volunteer.
what might that expertise be? Might it be their ability to write social media posts? Might it be their ability to analyze data? Is it all these sorts of things that they might
100%.
not have?
Yeah, exactly. You know, to do research, you know, you might be doing some sort of research as part of your degree, maybe. Social media is a massive one. Lots of charities struggle with how they position themselves online. You know, especially a smaller organization, they just don't have a full-time communications person. So it might be the finance manager that's doing it, or as well as a HR role. Do you know what I mean? Like that. That's the reality of life in a small charity. Is you have to wear lots of different hats. So, you know, you'd be surprised what's interesting to them. And I think, yeah, you tap into your interests, tap into the skills that you have, whether it's social media, it might be, you know, research and maths. It might be more on the delivery side. You know, you might want to work with young people. You know, you might be that type of person that is a very much a people's person, and you want to be front of house, and you want to be at the coalface working with the beneficiaries of that charity, for example. There are those kind of two sides to charities, you know, broadly speaking: delivery, so working directly with those beneficiaries, and those that are more on the support function and the sort of more office type roles of fundraising or marketing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, charities, if you're going to be regular and committed and have a passion, they'll really turn you away. So I'd
That's
encourage
great.
you to.
Thank you. I've got two more quick questions before we finish. We've got 5 minutes left, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. I suppose to me has there been a person, a moment or event that has helped you and was a standout?
This is a really tough one because there are so many people in my career. I guess the last role that I had, my boss founded this consultancy, and I spent a lot of time in meetings with him, and he very much helped me. It wasn't a particular moment as such, but just generally speaking, he helped me kind of take a step back on a lot of things, and he was one for a very good storyteller, and one for sort of anecdotes and various different phrases. And he often talks about going up in a helicopter and looking at a problem or looking at things as a whole, and kind of that was really useful to me, particularly within consultancy and particularly within this space. You know, you're often very busy roles, doing roles where you're executing projects and events. And I think if you want to sort of level up and grow into more senior roles, you have to move away from just the doing to the actual strategy and the forward thinking about the whys and the what fors, and how you do things and how you position yourself and how you move an entire program and a business. So it kind of help me kind of do that more often and not get stuck in the minutia and the weeds of things, and actually, you know, by taking a broader perspective and try and simplify
I like
things.
that top tip in any stage in life. See the detail, but take a view from higher above or from a distance. Sorry, James, last question, because I know you might have an answer to that, but I just wanted to say, if you could go back in time and take yourself to being a 3rd or 4th year student, is there any gem of wisdom that you might want to add to that helicopter vision?
I think that it kind of follows on, really. All I was thinking about was, I need a job. Like, what can I do? Who's hiring? Let me just fire off an application, because the immediate problem in front of me was, I'm going to finish my studies soon. What next? I need a job. Rather than if I'd taken a step back and thought, right, okay, well, where are my passions? Where do I want to be? How do I get there? and being a bit more methodical and a bit more planned in my approach. I'm not, things worked out great, and I'm very lucky. But yeah, I think and a lot of that is down to the people that I met and the networks that I made, and those kinds of things. But yeah, I think I could have been way more planned and thought through my pathways and my options, and I could have found and exploited so many more opportunities. Again, during my study at university, it was all about the study. I was, and just life in general. It wasn't until that last sort of moment that I thought about my career. And as I say, it worked out great. I'm very lucky, but a lot of people start thinking a lot sooner than I did, and I think that would have been really beneficial. And I could have had a lot more experiences had I used that time more wisely, yeah, focused on exploring all the opportunities that are out there, because they are, and whether they exist or whether you can make them happen through dedication and through persistence and your own personality. But they're out there, and I just encourage everyone to make the most of it, and put yourself in awkward positions and things you're not comfortable doing, because that's where you get the growth. It's very cliched, but be brave. Don't shy away from doing things that make you nervous, whether it's events at university, networking things. Just get yourself out there, meet as many people as you can, and see where it takes you.
Well, you've helped us with our branding of this series, in that it's called The Big Brave, and you've just said it. Be brave, get out there, be bold. Yeah. If I was just thinking, we've got sort of 3 takeaways from the session with you today, James. The first one is one after my own heart, is network. Get out there, be brave again, make those speculative approaches to organizations that interest you. It's up to you. You debate whether you can offer your services on a voluntary basis or not, maybe for a short-term basis, but be brave, offer yourself, make those speculative approaches. As I said, we do masterclasses from the Career Service to help you with things like starting to write your LinkedIn profile, how to use the LinkedIn features, making speculative approaches and how you might do that, and the breakdown of that. The second takeaway was the use of transferability, those transferable skills. You've gone across the sectors within the voluntary sector. You've gone from, a consultancy to a bank to fashion. And I think that's a really clear example of the use of transferable skills and your promotion of your transferable skills. And then also the one that you just mentioned is try and be planned, have fun, have a university life, try and plan some opportunities for you to build your CV, because your CV doesn't happen overnight. And also have faith as well, that the stars will look after you as long as you do the work.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
you might not get where you originally intended, but have some direction. You may take different paths off of that, but try and head somewhere and see where you go.
And be bold and brave.
100%.
Yeah. Well, it's such a pleasure to talk to you today, James. I appreciate your answers, being so open and honest. And also thanks to the audience for asking some great questions. I think we could have talked all day. This recording is available for everybody that's on the call today, and it may be elsewhere in the Career Service on other platforms, I am sure. I don't think there's anything else to say other than, once again, thanks, James. You've got a busy job, and we take heart and thanks in the fact that you've taken some of your valuable time to talk to us today. And also, you're very welcome up north of the border. Glasgow's hosting the COP26 conference in November, and it'd be a real pleasure to see you here. You'll have many friends here. Thanks very much, James.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.